Okay, a game here with E.Honda against Martlet. E.Honda is the person I've been following here. Very, very strong player. Um, yeah, tax makes the opening a little bit interesting, but they've obviously gone ahead and opened pretty quickly there. Um, I think gear makes a lot of sense to take. We can see that there's a distinct lack of village on the board. There's only Diplomat with no real good way to turn it on. And kind of Sculptor sculpting treasures, but then you need to not play another action after. There is Necropolis, right? And so that village combined with Diplomat might let you do something, but for that to work, I think you really need to thin. Um, so I think I like the gear opening. I think you really might just play fairly money oriented. You might pick up later a forge. You're probably going to pick up a sculptor, um, which allows you to get around tax, but probably mostly. Um, what word am I looking for here? Mostly is about. Okay, this is interesting. But I was gonna say is mostly just about like gaining silvers. Um, the alternative might include diplomat and thinning down a lot, but the problem with that is that doesn't work. A, it doesn't work very well with gear. B, more importantly, I like the no set aside from no Honda there, from E Honda there, but I'm going to get back to that in a second. More importantly, the problem with Diplomat is it's just really hard to have your Necropolis in your opening hand, especially if you're not gearing it, and you really need that. Um, I guess you can maybe use Sculptor to get a little bit of extra stuff. Okay, so you're definitely setting the Sculptor aside here. The reason I like not setting anything aside with gear last turn is that it lets you set aside with gear this turn. This is pretty unfortunate for E-Honda that the very bottom card is the Necropolis here. Um, Now, having said everything I've said, there is some pretty substantial incentive to actually try to thin down. This has got to be getting a silver because you want to play your gear, really. Gets a forge, so that is a way to thin down. And that also potentially, I don't understand rats here. I guess it makes some sense with bishop, I guess. Your opponent's bishops can also turn on your own diplomat, so that's something to watch out for. Setting aside 2 coppers seems good to me, as it's going to help. Wow, another gear. That seems like kind of a lot to me. But it's going to help. Expect this to be a trash of hovel, although you have to think a little bit about if you draw your forge, do you want the 1 cost card in your hand? And you would expect to draw your forge. But if you can thin down enough and get a couple of extra villagers from Sculptor early enough, I think you set nothing aside here so you can forge all of this into a silver. And I think I want a silver more than I want a 4th gear, especially when I'm this thin. Now, the overgrown estate is a little bit awkward here. Anyway, once you get thin enough, and if you have a couple extra villagers from sculpting early enough, or often enough, or I'm not sure exactly what really, but from sculpting, you can do a diplomat bridge thing and go pretty big. And I guess I kind of expect E-Honda can really even transition into this, even with the opening that he did. I'm not super keen on all these gears if that's what you're going for, but it's probably still fine. So I'm trying to remember what this last card must be the bridge. I think I don't think it matters much whether E.Honda trashes the copper here or not. But I think this can be Necropolis, Sculpt for Diplomat, play Diplomat. Well, maybe you can't. You're going to have too many cards coming in from the gear. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't quite work. But you should be able to make that play soon. In lieu of that, I kind of want Sculpt a Silver because I still do want. I still do want villagers, but I wanted to Sculpt a Silver and then just forge some stuff and not trash anything, which means I probably did want to trash to the opposing bishop. Probably, like, I kind of want Diplomat still, but I don't know, it seems to almost be escaping from E.Honda here. It is a little bit tricky to deal with all that, and because you're kind of sculpting silvers for a bit, you don't really want to have that many silvers in your Diplomat Bridge deck. It's a little bit tricky. So like here, I want to just sculpt silver, I think. But it feels pretty, and buy another Diplomat probably. It feels kind of bad though. Honestly, I could maybe see taking Rats as E.Honda here to help clean up these silvers, and then they can be forged into other fours, and what you really want are lots of fours. So there is some logic in that to my mind. But I want to sculpt a silver here and buy a Diplomat. And ignore the spam call. Nothing on the gear here. Okay, so this is where I want to be as E.Honda. Finally getting in line there. So start with Necropolis. Play Diplomat. Play Forge. I'd probably forge all the rest of these into a Platinum, other than the Diplomat. Oh, I don't like this as much. You gotta set aside now. You've got to set aside now. Because you want this Diplomat to activate. But then your Diplomats next turn aren't going to activate. It all feels a bit gross. Diplomat. Sculpt a Diplomat. Play Diplomat. I really liked the forging much better. This Platinum's not great, but you want to get rid of this other stuff anyway. Okay, takes Bridge. Now goes triple Diplomat or Bridge double Diplomat. Either of those make a lot of sense. I don't really like Bridge Diplomat, I don't think. Even that wouldn't be the most crazy though. This is not where I want to be, but it's okay. I mean, you're not going to be having good hands every hand probably in this deck because you're pretty reliant on getting your Necropolis. If I'm E.Honda here, again, I'm forging 3/3s into a Platinum. If I'm Martlet here, I'm crying. I guess rats kind of works with diplomat. Eh. But mostly I just want my deck to be full of diplomats and bridges. Like all diplomats and bridges in my one necropolis, and I'll be pretty happy. I guess you can do this and then set aside necropolis and forge. And maybe spend uh maybe spend whoa, not setting aside necropolis is not something I like. This might work out okay. Set aside 2 copper, 2 silvers, maybe a bridge, I don't know. But you can play diplomat. If you set aside 2 cards here, you can play diplomat, which lets you play bridge, which probably lets you play another diplomat. Yeah. And then bridge, and then diplomat, and then bridge, and then diplomat, and then you can sculpt whatever. And play it. But your next hand doesn't look as so good because you got all these treasures in it. Well, maybe you just take next turn off and forge a lot. Sculpts a gold. Well, it's better than sculpting a silver. And having the yeah, having the forge might help here. You can forge all the treasures. Well, I guess all the all the treasures into nothing just to get rid of them. Um, I don't know whether that's better or worse than trashing to this bishop here. Trashing the gold, and that way, when you forge all the treasures, you get a 6, which is, I guess, another gold. But regardless, I want to forge all the treasures so I can play diplomat. And hope that I draw another action, which seems likely. Sculptor would not be a good draw. So you want to draw in your 2 cards a bridge or a necropolis. But you're pretty likely to draw one of those two, I think, right? You've got 4 bridges in your deck and a necropolis. So is that all, really? There's more diplomats and stuff too. So it's a little bit tricksy. Yeah, I would have liked to have set up more earlier. I think you just got to forge the silvers and the copper, and I think you can't afford to get rid of the diplomat here. Yeah, no, you play the diplomat. Okay, you did draw a bridge. That's really nice. You drew another bridge. That's really nice. You really want to find, okay, this is good. This is working out perfectly. Is Necropolis. Yeah. Now you play Necropolis, I think. You could just try to gear stuff here, actually. Yeah, like gear just Necropolis Diplomat, maybe? Play Diplomat, gain a Forge, play the Forge? Or do you want your. Not a Forge, a Bridge. Although you could gain a Forge. I don't think I like gaining a Forge. Yeah, the gold makes more sense to me. I think it was either gold or bridge there, really. Now, I like the gold because the villager. And now, what do I want? I don't really want more sculptors because they're too bad terminal space-wise. Uh, Bishop could be okay. Just goes for colony already. Worried about his opponent piling out, maybe. That's a lot of bridges you're taking there. I might take another forge. You gotta hope your opponent plays a bishop here. You really want to trash down as much as you can. And he might do, but he also might not. I would expect the next thing. Oh, he can set aside here. Play rats, trash the copper, play diplomat, bishop of rats, play diplomat. Definitely trash a silver. You really don't need money. You're just trying to use your bridges and like empty bridges and gears here, I think, and then you can empty whatever. You just need terminal space, so you just want to like you just trash this gold here too. Absolutely trash the gold. Yeah. And now, well, Martlet can play another rats or not. It's not really going to make a big difference. E.Honda's going to win on his next turn. Sculpt a silver, I would imagine. Buy, it really doesn't matter. State actually helps Honda. It makes it a little bit easier, maybe. You can pile out on estates instead of bridges, perhaps. Bridge. Diplomat. Bridge. Diplomat. Bridge. Diplomat. Bridge. Diplomat. This is pretty good drawing. It's not that unlikely, but diplomat again now. Now I think bridge diplomat. You can use your... Oh, I wouldn't have geared there, I don't think, but it's probably fine. Now, figure out what you're emptying here. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but okay. This is still enough to empty anything you want. Oh, provinces. Provinces is a way to do it. I was looking at these piles, whatever, but yeah, this totally works for provinces. Really nice, really nicely played, I think, there from E.Honda. Would have done a couple things differently, but I don't think, I'm not even sure they were better. I was just looking at it differently, you know? Um, my main thing is I think it was maybe a little bit too much gear, but it's, you know, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.